Good morning, everyone. It's Paul Talkington and
Steve Roberts
from Vincents Chartered Accountants. You can see from the front screen we spent a lot of time deciding over our logo for this presentation. So we've got a falcon in the cloud. So hopefully that will resonate with you all today when we just go through a bit of a journey talking to people who maybe don't know anything about the cloud and what it can do for their accounting requirements, and maybe people who do know a bit and want to go on a roadmap on a journey on how far you can take things to be done. I've got an apology up front. I've got a bit of man flu, so I apologise for my husky voice, and if I sneeze or whatever, I'll try not to do it too much. So, first slide here, this is, I think, a very good representation of the evolution of accounting. Back in the caveman days, trying not to get eaten by dinosaurs and having the rain washing all your numbers off the cave wall was probably quite time consuming. Progressing through to the stressed out man in the 1990s on his desk with his big screen, labouring over some numbers, compared to now where we all lie on the beach with yellow board shorts looking at things on our iPad. I suppose the takeaway from this slide is previously, if you were a caveman, you didn't have the tools or the time to really speed things up, whereas now in business, because of all the technology we've got, and especially the cloud, everyone in business has the opportunity to use it. So if you're not doing these things, your competitors might be as well. So trying to give an understanding to some of the viewers out here on the webinar who are not quite sure what the cloud might be. It's a buzzword, people talk about it a lot, but what does it mean? And one of the leading cloud accounting software providers is Xero, who they now say they've got 700,000 users spread around the world. And highlighted in black on that screen is it talks about data, where you've got your files, your data, and even your software, so you can access it from any computer or device anywhere at any time. And the word device is quite relevant because these days people are doing more and more things on their smartphones, whether it be an Android phone or an iPhone or whatever other brand, because you can carry those around in your pocket, and while you're doing things on the move, you can still come back to looking at things, whereas previously you'd have to go back to the office or ring someone up in the office, or go back and look in a filing cabinet in the office. So really it's the speed of business that is causing that now. So just going to go through to illustrate, and for some of the accountants we've got listening today with clients, we have a lot of issues with clients, especially maybe more senior people who are not comfortable or not sure about, they want to take the leap of putting all their valuable business and accounting data out of where they can touch and see it. So just talking about some of the practices from the old days compared to some of the practice we've got in cloud practices. So we can all remember back in that day, banking, you'd have to go into your bank branch and fill out a deposit slip and fill out the stubs of your check butts and all those sort of things. And for probably 10 or 15 years we've had internet banking, where you can log on your computer and even now on your smartphone, find out what your balances are and even do transactions through that medium. So the same thing there, you do your banking anywhere, anytime and on any device. We'd all know about email, so the same thing, you'd write your letter, put a stamp on it, send it off, whereas now we've had email for many years that can go anytime, anywhere, on any device, especially with smartphones. So there's a theme emerging here. And talking about filing as well. So you used to have a big bank of filing cabinets in your office, and every year you'd buy another filing cabinet and add the files from the previous years, and then you'd put it in another room and it'd stretch down the hallways. So with some of the cloud storage, like Dropbox, or even if you're taking photos on your iPhone, a lot of those images are stored up into the cloud on various automated things that save a copy off your phone and onto your cloud account or even onto your computer or something. The same thing, your files are available anywhere, anytime. So you might be out talking to a customer and you've got a copy of their contract stored in the cloud. You can view that, maybe email a copy of it through to them. Takes no time. Previously, you'd have to ring up the office, someone would have to go rifling through the filing cabinet, pull out the manila folder and find that it's not actually been filed there because someone else has pulled it out and they're using it for another purpose. Similarly as well, we talk about shopping. So traditional shopping, bricks and mortar compared to online shopping, like something like eBay. If you want to go and buy a new pair of shoes and it's 9 o'clock on a Sunday night, you can't really go down to David Jones and do that, but you can go and order one and get one delivered, you know, in a few days. So you're really able to do anything, anytime, anywhere, because of the way the cloud enables that. So all of these comments I've read to you, they're not my thoughts. This is what Xero, who I mentioned before, a large provider of cloud accounting software, says, well, we're already doing all these things in our life. Therefore, it's a logical step that if you've got your traditional accounting software, where it had on you had your software installed on CD or something on your computer or your laptop in the office, as long as the computer's turned on and there's someone in at work, you can access it. Depending on how many licenses you might have had or how many computers that had the software on it, it would determine how many people could access the software at any particular time. And if your power went down, you really couldn't work at all. You have to wait for the power to come back up, or your business had sort of come to a bit of a standstill. With cloud software, your data's online. It's a bit like online banking as well. It's accessible for anywhere at any time, as long as you've got an internet connection. If your internet connection goes down at your office, or you lose power or something, you can whip out your mobile device, or you can go home or go somewhere else. You can go to the library or something if it was a real emergency or public place, and log in and do what you have to do. And a lot of the good cloud software these days lets probably not unlimited, Xero is probably exaggerating a little bit, but a very large number of people log on and do the same thing. So you might have your accountant doing something, the business owner looking at some reports, accounts payable person processing an invoice, and a bookkeeper doing something all at the same time, rather than having to wait because someone was accessing the computer that was doing a particular function, and you had to wait your turn. Previously, in the traditional accounting software, you've been able to do all of those things, but often the accounting software packages cost a lot of money. You had to have an army of programmers to customise it to your business's needs. You paid very large annual software support costs, and it was usually the domain of medium to large business. So with the cloud accounting software applications you can get today, which Stephen and I'll explore a little bit more later on, it's really bringing a lot of that functionality down to the small and medium business that really previously never had that opportunity because they didn't have the trained staff nor the money or resources to do that. And no need to take notes there. I should have said that we'll email a copy of the presentation to all the attendees today for your own reference. But some of the benefits, so if you're a business owner listening today, this is what might be relevant to yourself, or if you're a bookkeeper or an accountant listening, this is the sort of things, if you're having a conversation with your client, that might be relevant. So it can be a time saver. So with your old computer in your office, you've got a long period of time physically keying in invoices and bills and receipts and running down the bank statement with a ruler and matching them to hundreds of different bank transactions from different accounts. You couldn't do anything but spend that time. And that would often mean the time taken to get a set of accounts prepared. You'd have to wait for the bank statement in the mail or even be emailed to you, and you'd then have to sit down and wait for all the paperwork. So you don't have to really get involved in that. One of the most powerful things of cloud accounting that maybe isn't fully understood and is sort of fundamental to its success is you set up electronic bank feeds. So all your transactions are downloaded every day into the software from whoever you bank with. And then you can map those transactions already in your system. You can match them against your bills and invoices and receipts with just a few clicks of your mouse, rather than having to type in the date, the amount, and all the other things where there's a chance for error. Many of the software applications, such as Xero as well, they have auto-coding rules. So if you buy all your fuel for your vehicles from BP and it sees something coming through from BP, it'll automatically match that to motor vehicle fuel. And a lot of those things can take a lot of that even electronic matching task away. So all you're really doing is approving things rather than having to even match those things. Now, one of the other powerful things that cloud accounting can bring to your business is, depending on how far down the road of, I suppose, automation and time saving you want to go. You could just stay back at the stage where you've got electronic bank feeds coming in, you're allocating or automating some of your allocation of your transactions into your software, preparing your monthly financials or your quarterly BAS or your year-end accounts. And due to the nature and complexity of your business, that's what you're doing. You don't really need to take it any further. However, we use the term roadmap in this seminar because that's really the beginning of the road. What Xero does, and all it does, is provide accounting capability. It doesn't do stock. It's got reasonably good payroll, but there's a whole lot of other applications, or apps as they're known, which can connect into your Xero or Reckon or Intuit or whatever QuickBooks file, and they usually do the best of breed as what they're designed to do. And Stephen will talk about in a bit more detail on the specifics of some of those things later on. But they can automate and speed up other business processes that you might be using depending on the nature of your business. And the third-party developers who develop these add-ons, they might know nothing about accounting. They don't really care, but they might be specialists in debtor collection or staff scheduling. So the data that comes out of their system will then go and speak to the cloud accounting system and then transfer data backwards and forwards between the two to record your business processes. Now, for many clients in your own business, or many advisors talking to clients, if you've been used to the control and the comfort of seeing all your data on your computer with the green lights flashing when you turn on the Monday morning, and knowing that you've put every what security regime you have in place, and there's a concern that you're sort of letting this data and entrusting it to someone else. And the security concern is often, you don't know what you don't know. Now, one of the main points is the banks have very high level of security over their data. They wouldn't be sharing their data with a cloud provider unless they could demonstrate similar, if not better, security regimes to make sure that the data is all backed up, encrypted, and kept in a very secure environment. The last point on this slide is, if your laptop blows up with your database on it for your accounting software, or gets stolen or whatever, you've lost everything and you really can't get your business back up and running. Or similarly, if you have a power failure at work and you blow up your hard drives on your main computer that has all your software, you're really going down a very expensive and difficult path to get the data back. In cloud accounting, if you lose your laptop or lose your smartphone or your computer at work, because the data doesn't reside on it, it sits all in the secure environment of the cloud software provider, you can just go and get another computer or another device or go somewhere else and start up again. So you really don't have that issue that maybe a lot of people running software on very old machines where their hard drives might have gone on for another 5 years or might have failed next week. That's a risk that you don't really know that you have in your business. Similarly, talking about previously, if you have all your records in your filing cabinet in your office, or like when we had the floods in 2011 and things got inundated, all those records are gone. If they've been scanned and are stored in the cloud, you really don't have that issue in terms of worrying about where the physical paperwork is. You can always just go and print another one out. And it all comes back to the speed of doing things. The other issue and the final point is you allow users with different levels of access to your cloud accounting software depending on what task they need to prepare. So an accounts payable person doesn't need to see the profit and loss, whereas an accounting advisor or bookkeeper probably needs to see everything. But in the old ways, you really had to get a copy of your data file and put it on a USB stick and post it to your accountant, which is quite risky because you might lose the whole lot, or it might go to the wrong person, or you don't really know what you're giving to someone in those circumstances. Now I'll just hand over to Stephen, and he's going to talk about data conversion and some other things.
Thanks, Paul. So Paul's gone through essentially some of the barriers that you might be facing with your client base in terms of what some of the questions that clients might ask you. Similarly, if you're a client looking at this, we've sort of gone through some of the key questions that Paul and I get asked on a daily basis with regards to the pros and the cons, and security is one of the primary questions that we get. One of the other questions we get quite frequently is, I've got this system that's been in place for the last 10 years. I've been using my QuickBooks on my desktop, and I like it because it's sitting in that little green box, and I turn it on every Monday morning with my coffee and I see little green lights flash, as Paul said. I don't really want to go and rekey all my client data and all my supplier data, and I know that I buy 3 chickens from CCC Chickens every Friday and they've all got all their names in there. One of the tools, or there's a few organisations out there that what they can do is they can get your data from your QuickBooks file or your Mild file or anything, or a similar accounting package, and they can convert that into a cloud-based software. So there's basically a tool that sucks in the data from your old stuff, including card file data if you're a Mild user, and supplier information if you're a QuickBooks user, and alike, and it brings it into the Xero file so that all that information, all those records, are maintained in your conversion process to the cloud. It can also bring in both, I guess, non-financial data and financial data. So the non-financial data is the supplier information and phone numbers and alike. And it can also bring in open invoices, multiple years worth, financial years of data. So if your accountant's gone in there and processed alignment journals, you won't lose any of that data. It'll all come through to the cloud and it'll all still be there. It'll just be in the Xero form or the Intuit form or whatever cloud accounting software you choose to use. One of the other great benefits, I guess, of cloud accounting, which Paul briefly touched on, is this notion of sharing and collaboration. The point of it being in the cloud is that it is accessible to anybody who we give access to and at any time. Now that opens a whole range of doors for both clients and advisors and even intermediaries or third parties such as banks or financial advisors that can get access to this information if we provide them access. So I guess what the Xero or cloud accounting can enable is a user access be provided to anybody that we choose and we send an email to, so that we can give them specific access to what we want them to see inside of our financial data. As you can see on the slide, you only require one subscription or one monthly fee, similar to what you'd be paying for QuickBooks or My Desktop for the upgrades and the new tax tables each year. So there's still that one subscription basis, but we can provide multiple users with different accesses, which enables this notion again of real-time interaction and real-time data, so they can get access to that in real time. I guess traditional ways Paul touched on is, copying your data onto a USB drive and either hand delivering it to your accountant or advisor or whoever needs to receive that data, or posting it in, which has its own risks. It's as simple as sending an email inside the software to your accountant or your bookkeeper or whoever with the level of access they want, and they just need to accept that, and boom, they've got access. I think a few accountants out there and bookkeepers will be reading this and going, yep, I've had to load upgrades and software incompatibilities and version controls of files and needing to, or you receive a file and the tax tables are from 1 July 2007, they've been processing, the client's been processing payroll from 2008 tax tables, or if you're a client out there, you've had that onerous task of having to update your tax tables and making sure they're right. All that's in the past, or all that's gone with cloud accounting, as all the upgrades and all the software updates, including tax tables, are done automatically in the background. So you don't have to load anything, you don't have to receive a CD from Mob and then put it into your server and upgrade it. It's all done for you in the background. Similarly, there's no such thing as versions in Xero or anything like that. It's you all log into one file, and there's no such thing as version 3.0. I haven't upgraded to version 4.3 yet. Sorry, accountant, do you still have access to version 3.0? It's all gone in cloud accounting. Some of the questions that we get or we see frequently day-to-day processing is a bookkeeper will find a transaction. Let's pick an example, a purchase of a motor vehicle. And the bookkeeper will flag it as a difficult transaction to enter, be it the GST implications, the limiting of it, way to put stamp duty, who knows. That bookkeeper will generally put a file note or a memo or some sort of description in that memo field, waiting for the accountant to receive it to then fix it or amend it or process the journals to rectify whatever the accountant needs to do. That's in the past with cloud accounting. Again, you're starting to see, again, another theme emerge here of the cloud accounting can alleviate a lot of these difficulties that we have between, being the client on the ground level and the accountant up the top. Now all the bookkeeper needs to do is attach a memo to a particular transaction inside the cloud, and that can notify the accountant, and the accountant can log in real time, have a look at the transaction, see the question that's been posed by the bookkeeper or the client, and then process in a journal or discuss with the client in real time what needs to do to fix that, to make that an accurate transaction. Again, no more handling of the books to your accountant, and the accountant doing their end-of-year procedures, then giving the bookkeeper or the client an aligning journal to align the client's file with what the accountant's prepared now. The accountant actually prepares the end of financial year financial statements inside the software. So it allows the accountant to actually process adjustments in real time whilst they're preparing the job. Now, I think we do have some bookkeepers and clients listening today. You might think, oh, well, hang on a second, I actually use that as a reference tool, those aligning journals that I receive from my accountant, to see what I've done wrong or see what I need to improve on or see if there's something that I'm miscoding all the time, call it a GST on a particular transaction that shouldn't. Xero still keeps all the audit trail, and it still allows for you to run a report or to have a look at that audit history to go, oh, well, what did Steve Roberts do on the 24th of June or the 22nd of June with that particular transaction? So you've still got that audit history, and clients and bookkeepers can still look at that information and then learn from that moving forward. So it just makes it a lot easier from our point of view that we don't have to give you an aligning journal, and then you have to go and process it and make sure it's all right. Something that I'll be talking about in a moment is various apps that we can use to streamline business processes and make things that we're currently doing manual electronically and automated to increase efficiencies. Now, with the Xero or any of the cloud accounting, it automatically shares the required data that the app needs to allow the app to do its functionality that you've invested in. So we'll just go through a few of those now in a second. Sorry. Currently, you send your Mob file in or your QuickBooks file in, and the accountant calls you in 2 weeks and says, hey, I don't know the username or password to the file. And then you go say, oh, it's administrator and the password's 001 or password's Vincents 01 or whatever the password's going to be. You don't need to do that anymore with the cloud accounting. So again, you just get the subscription, which is the person who owns or has the subscription to the file, and then you've got a bunch of different users with direct access into that file. So If I was the accountant on the job, I'd have a login sroberts at Vincents, and I can log in with my username and my password, not having to call up the client or the bookkeeper and say, hey, have you guys changed the password? I need to know that. Quite often we get emails through saying, hey, I'm going for some finance to purchase a new property or refinance a boat or whatever the asset may be. Having real-time data, it enables your accountant to log into your file and provide you, the annual financials linked to them, which have been prepared inside the Xero file or the cloud accounting file, or management accounts up to a particular date and review them. And the accountant can give you that information within minutes or hours as opposed to weeks or months. How many clients out there have received a phone call whilst they've been driving to and from a job site from the ATO or work cover or QBCC or any sort of statutory body that requires information, saying, oh, how many employees have you got, or have you made payment on this particular BAS, or whatever the case may be. Previously, your answers have been, well, I'm not in front of my computer, I don't have access to my financial information, I can't provide you that work cover, I can't provide you that QBC, I'll have to get back to you. With the cloud accounting, it enables you to be on the fly and, on your tablet or on your phone, be able to bring up that information, provide that to the people that you want. So it just enables that information sharing and collaboration with not only internal advisors, you might have an internal bookkeeper and accountant, but also external parties like the ATO, your bank, QBC, work cover, whoever. So again, we've talked about the pros, the sharing, collaboration, security of it, and one of the things that we are now going to be talking about is the roadmap. So if we've sold you enough to go, hey, look, there are some really good advantages inside cloud accounting software, there's some apps or add-ons or bolt-ons or whatever the terms you want to use that can plug in and utilize the information that you've got in the cloud and give you extra information or more information that you can then use these apps for productivity, efficiencies. You might also have Excel spreadsheets running in the background, which keep track of all sorts of various things, and they are generally quite manual and labor intensive, and you generally need an Excel boffin if they break to be able to fix the val errors, or anybody that's familiar with Excel. Again, these apps can produce the same result, but without all the manual entry, and it just sucks the data in straight from the cloud accounting package. So we'll go through a few examples now. The first one is labour hire, so anything to do with labour. So if you have staff in your business, or if you hire out, or if you're a consulting business or anything like that, that you need to control man hours, there's apps on the market that plug straight into, for example, Xero, that can deal with these all automated and all electronically. So things like timesheeting. If you have an Excel spreadsheet, or if you have a wall full of a whiteboard with all the names down the left and when they're working on the right, what they worked on, how many hours they worked on a particular job, the timesheeting, there's an app out there which you can put an iPad on the front of your front door. People can, or your employees can type in their digits, their numbers, log in, and it electronically records that. That information can then feed straight through to payroll and can automate that whole process, as opposed to filling out a manual timesheet, submitting that to the HR coordinator or whoever it will be, or the boss approving that, and then it going to payroll. It all gets done automated and electronically. Rostering, one of my clients has a pretty large whiteboard with rostering, and if Frank can't turn up, or Frank calls in the day and says, hey, I can't come into work today, you need to reallocate that particular time slot to someone else. Rostering, again, can be done all electronic and automated. So it's as simple as putting up a roster, sending it out. If you get any feedback, you can automatically rejuggle the resources and then send out new emails to confirm that. Workflow management, if, again, Frank turns up and says, hey, I can't come into work today, or rings in sick, the workflow will then say, well, I still need, an equivalent of Frank to be at this job site to put X, Y, Z into the the roof or whatever you might be doing. The workflow management, there's an app that can automate that process and receive that information from Frank, see what the available resources are, and then automatically send emails out or correspondence out, SMSs even, to the resources that are available to then assist you in that. And that can go right through to an employee self-service entitlement management system, so an employee no longer has to fill out a manual timesheet, a manual leave application form and submit that to the HR and then that get approved. Again, that can be all automated and electronic and go straight through. Inventory is probably a good one to talk about for a few minutes. A lot of us do have inventory, a lot of clients, and if you're an accountant out there advising your clients that do have inventory in their business, again, Excel spreadsheets is probably the most prominent tool used in the SME market, would be a fair comment to say, for inventory in terms of where it is, how much it's worth, what's the margins, what's the GP on it. And there's apps out there for even different industries that you can utilize. And keep in mind, whilst we're going through all this information gets automatically sucked to and from your cloud accounting package. So things like how much am I making per sale of widget X and how much am I making per sale of widget Y gives you that real-time data and that real-time information to make inventory decisions. When do I need to buy it? What's the lead time on this particular product? Currently, or a lot, you'll see Excel spreadsheets will have this. There's an application that can do it for you. It integrates seamlessly, or so the apps say, with point of sale systems. I have seen one work seamlessly, which sucks the data straight from your point of sale, works all the way through to your inventory, and then throws out an accounting record inside your cloud software. Custom orders and dispense automation. So there's apps and products out there which can again feed back into the Xero file, which can automatically take orders from your online side of your business, automatically print a label, a packing label, which all you need to do is take off the sticky thing, put on your envelope, and put it in the post. Again, all automated for you. Data management. So it's one thing to do a job well, and it's another thing to get paid for that and on a timely basis. And you might have, if you're a client out there, you might have a designated data control person that their job or their role is simply to call clients on a daily basis or weekly basis or monthly basis or whatever it is, whatever your data management terms are, to call the client and say, hey, Frank, I'm going to keep picking on Frank. Frank, have you received that invoice? Yes, no. Are you going to pay that invoice? What seems to be the problem? Have you not received the payments? Do you not know how to make payment? What's the story? So there's apps out there which can automate that. So it can suck information again in real time from your Xero software, show invoices that you've sent out on X particular date, and depending on the preferences you set, when that flags up in the system to go, well, the debts or the invoice has now been outstanding for 14 days. That's a bit weird, as Alex normally pays those invoices on time. And it can automatically send out email invoices or email reminders to go, hey, Alex, you forgot to pay that invoice. Is that something that just slipped under the radar? And the email templates can be customized to what you want, so you can have your label at the top and you can have your personal friendly greeting. When Alex does eventually pay that, it automatically strikes it off and can put that against the invoice, so the accounting side of it is automated and done for you. It can enable a customer portal, so if a customer needs an invoice or they're not sure what's outstanding or where they're at with their account, they can log into their own portal. So if I was a client, S. Roberts can log in and see what all the invoices are. Can also give me the ability to download invoices, so if I need to provide them for whatever reasons, call it warranty purposes or whatever, it can provide that access to those clients. If you impose late penalties or interest or anything like that for late payment, again, automation of that. So instead of having to calculate, Alex's invoice has been outstanding for 14 days, that's 3% per day or whatever the case may be. Again, if you're manually doing that in Excel, well, there's an application that automates that for you. can automatically put people on stop credit if that's a policy or procedure that your business has, and can, when you send out the email with the invoice attached, it can have a link down the bottom to make it as easy as possible for the client to make payment of that. It also has a full audit history of if Alex did actually open up that invoice. So the amount of questions you've been asked of, hey Alex, did you receive that invoice? Oh no, I haven't got that yet, mate, sorry. Well, actually I can see here that you did open up that invoice because it has that tracking system and it has that functionality to show that Alex did actually open up that email. And again, I'll link down the bottom. Alex, I'm just going to send it through to you right now. Can you just open that up for me while you're on the phone? And down the bottom there's that link which can process your credit card or PayPal or however you want to pay for it. Again, just make sure you get the cash in your business as seamless and as easy as possible. And if you're doing that manual, if you have a debtor control lady right now, there's an app or there's an add-on which can assist in those processes. Expense management. So for the clients that are on the road a lot, you know, you duck into Mitre 10 to pick up four nuts and 3 bolts for the job that you're trying to complete. You put that receipt in your back pocket. You go to the office, and the finance team goes, "Thank you very much, Frank. Can I have those invoices for those bolts and nuts that you purchased from the hardware store?" And you go, "Yep, it's in my back pocket. No worries." Oh,
went through the wash.
Oh, where are they? They've gone through the wash, and now you can't read them. So there's apps out there which it's as simple as if you have a smartphone or an iPad or any sort of electronic portable device, you can take a photo of that invoice. The software can then read that invoice and pick up key data, things like date, supplier, ABN, GST, net amount, etc., etc. And it turns the photo into an actual accounting record and posts that into your software. So gone are the days of having to bring in your invoices. You can literally take a photo and it stores that photo against that transaction, so you actually have a receipt there on file against that record. If you receive invoices from suppliers, you know, usually or traditionally you'll have a bookkeeper which will code in that data. So on the 18th of June I received Officeworks invoice for 400 pens. All you need to do, or there's an app out there which can allow for you to just put that invoice from Officeworks into the scanner. Again, software can then read the particular pieces of data that it needs, things like date, GST, etc., and automatically import that into your Xero file, and again turn that into an accounting record also. For those, if you know you've ever been an Alex out there and you've forgotten to make that payment, or it's slipped under the radar in the billions of emails that you receive per day, you can set automatic reminders to go, oh yeah, I need to pay Steve's invoice or whoever's invoice. Expense reimbursements is a good one. So again, if you have that person out on the road and they've paid for those nuts and bolts out of their personal money previously, you'd have to fill out an expense payment reimbursement form, provide that to the relevant people to get approved, then it goes to payroll, and payroll make the payment. There's apps and add-ons which allow for that automation of that process. So there's an employee on the road can take a photo of those nuts and bolts, send it to the relevant people, it gets approved all electronically and goes straight through to payroll. So again, these and again, just from a high level, as we're going through all these, you don't necessarily need to add all these things on today. You don't need to tick all these boxes and implement all these different systems and processes today. It's just, again, a roadmap of the various things that are out on the market which can integrate with your cloud accounting software, which can make your manual processes that you're currently doing today automated, which can improve in efficiencies and ultimately the bottom line and cash flow. So if you have workflow out there, or jobs or anything, so for an example, if you're a roofing person and you installed roofs as your business, you can work out exactly where that roof job is at from start to finish. So in real time, it can tell you how far progressed through that job you are. Similarly to that, it can put financial information and overlay that over top to go, well, the budget was $1,000, it's 40% through, so by rights, basic math says it should be $400 into cost. In real time, you can see whether it's at $500 or $600 or even $200, and it can overlay both the non-financial and financial data to go, well, where's the job at? How much have we spent, and how much have we either eating into our profits or we're making more profits on this particular job? It can allow for specific job reporting. So in that roofing example, it might be 259 Junction Road, and at 259 Junction Road, I know it's 50% through, and I can get a report specific on 259 Junction Road, not on my South East Queensland roofing business. So I can break it down by job by job. It can automate milestones. So for example, again, with the roofing, I know on, day 4 you need to put the rafters on, day 6 you need to put on the panels, day 8 you need to screw it down, or whatever the milestones are for a particular job. You can set those preferences and those jobs up front if you do them day in, day out, and you can set up automatic reminders to be automatically sent to the various people to be able to perform their tasks in a timely manner. It can manage the whole process from quote to scheduling to resource allocation to notification to job completion. And what that means is if you get a quote in, it's all in the one software, and it can all talk back to your Xero file. And it can even go right down to automatic purchase orders. So if, for example, with the roofing company, you've got a job for 259 Junction Road, you need 300 sheets of Colorbond blue. It can automate the purchase order of the materials required based on the job and the quote that you've already input there. So if currently you have an Excel spreadsheet which has 400 different product codes and 400 different items with different numbers attached to them, and it needs someone manually to go, I need 40 sheets of this and 30 sheets of that and 400 screws or whatever the case may be, it can automate that for you. One of the key ones, and this is probably more aimed at accountants out there, but it can also be applied for the clients, is reporting in real time, and real time is the key to this one. So if you wanted to set, KPIs or smart KPIs, key performance indicators, you can set them and put them in place for them to be accountable, both the client and the accountant, to then set goals and set what you want to achieve inside your business or what you want to achieve with your client, and in real time that can report back to both the client and the advisor on how you're tracking with those goals. Now, there's a buzzword out there at the moment called dashboard monitoring or dashboarding or whatever the case may be, and what it basically means is it's a GUI, a graphical representation of what you're trying to achieve. So as opposed to seeing numbers or the old school variance analysis of wages, we had budgeted $100,000 this month and we've actually spent $200,000, it throws out a $100,000 variance. It can put that into a graph or into a worm chart or into a bar graph or into a pie chart or color code it, or there's all sorts of different ways that different programs out there can relay that information back to both the client and the advisor, which again is a graphical representation of that as opposed to numbers. Another key Excel one in here is the budgeting and cash flow. So a lot of people out there are probably still using Excel for budgets and cash flows and variance analysis. There's tools out there which can automate that. So instead of manually having to type in real data after the month's gone or budgets for the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 weeks, whatever the case may be, it can automate that for you because you've already got the information in the accounting software. It can suck that data from your Xero file and populate the add-on, and then you can forecast moving forward. It can report both financial and non-financial. So for example, if you're a restaurant, for example, there's add-ons or apps that can show, well, we've had 15 customer complaints over food for the last month. It can show you that, well, 14 of those customer complaints came from staff member Jenny, for an example. And it can give you that information in real time, so then you can, if there's a problem, like in my example with Jenny, you can address that problem in real time. again, just the reporting that can come out of Xero, the information is generally all there. You just need to bring it out of Xero, and if it needs to be put back into Xero, the information flow is both ways. The last one I'm going to talk about today is a CRM system. So typically, quite a large business would have a CRM, but I think it's also quite important for the smaller end of clients, as your clients or your customers are your income source, and without them you don't really have a business. So I guess, what investment currently do you have in, and this is probably more aimed at clients and bookkeepers, is what investment at the moment do you have in your CRM system? How do you know when you've got, you've talked to Bob on at a barbecue somewhere, what's the follow-up system, or what accountability do you have to follow up Bob to go, hey, it was really good talking with you, Bob. Is there something that I can help you with further from what we talked about? Following up, so if Bob said, oh, thanks, I really do want to catch up with you, Steve, but I'm busy for the next week. I'm down in Melbourne, or whatever the case may be. What sort of follow-up system do you have currently to go, well, I do want to talk to Bob. I know he's in Melbourne for the next week. Can something remind me in 2 weeks' time or a week and a half's time when he comes back from Melbourne to catch up with Bob? What system or process do you have on for onboarding clients? So, yep, Bob's called me back. Bob wants to come on board. If you have a manual system or a manual new client form or a manual onboarding process, again, there's apps and add-ons out there which can assist in that process. Again, what investment do we have in client data and information that we have from the clients? Client management in terms of what sort of feedback have we received from customers in terms of improvement, or a job well done, Steve? What system do we have to record that when it comes to evaluating both the client and the person that provided the service or the product? And what recording and even what reporting do we have out of our CRM to show our clients or our complaints or whatever the case may be? And again, there's apps and add-ons out there which can assist in all those processes. So I'm going to hand back over to Paul now, just to talk about probably the last piece of the puzzle of our roadmap.
So I suppose people who've been listening to Stephen's talk, there'll be some parts, if you're a business owner, that would be very interesting to you, depending on the nature of your business and the critical activities it has. Other parts would have had no interest to you whatsoever. Similarly, for the advisors listening, the accountants and bookkeepers, there would have been certain parts in there that would have been relevant to your major clients, or some things you weren't even aware of. One of the challenges with cloud accounting is it sounds great on paper, and there's many apps, and there's new apps coming on board every day that are better and faster and do more things than the previous ones. But I suppose one of the challenges is trying to hook it all together and make sure it meets your business needs, not because it's something there that is available and doesn't really have any value to your business. And what we also see is that the power of cloud accounting is, and what we do a lot at Vincents, is many small to medium businesses, that they can't justify the cost of a CFO or a financial controller or a finance director in their business, because they're not of the scale or size that can afford that. But if you've got your accounting records in the cloud, and I suppose all of this is all we've talked about today is presupposed on that you've actually got your records up to date. If you've got your electronic data feed from your bank importing transactions into your cloud accounting every day, if you or your bookkeeper haven't logged on and it says there's 167 unallocated transactions, which means they're just sitting there in holding pattern, if anyone else logs on and has a look at your profit and loss or your balance sheet or your accounts receivable or accounts payable profile, all those reports are going to be wrong because it's not acting on true and finalised data. So there's the other saying, is a technical term called GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. The biggest issue with cloud accounting is because all the information comes in so quickly, and as Stephen said a few times, everything's in real time. If you're not on the ball and allocating things, you've just got garbage being presented to everyone. Now, contrast that to the old way of accounting. If you had to wait for the bank statement, or you took your bank statement to your bookkeeper once a week or once a month or once a quarter, you couldn't see that the information had only been partially prepared or not prepared at all. With cloud accounting, because you do know everything instantaneously, you can see where it's at. So you need all your other processes to get your data file and your bank accounts reconciled, but you can have your virtual CFO, your external accountant or whatever, who can just log into your file and have a look at where you're at and use their skill and experience, to give you some advice on your business, how to improve things. Now, previously you probably couldn't do that because you just wouldn't have the ability to do it. You have to wait weeks or months to get the financials prepared, and usually the data is fairly old. So often we sort of see with our clients, we'll have a number of key performance indicators that are critical to their business. So say if you're a restaurant or a cafe or in the hospitality space, it might be the number of covers you've got on particular nights a week, the gross margin on your food, depending on your menu and your beverage sales or something. So those things can be tracked and discussed and looked at strategies that might be tried to improve things or change things. Also too, Stephen talked about budget preparation and looking at your budget performance. Many businesses had an accountant prepare a very large and elaborate Excel spreadsheet, which is very difficult to populate because you've then got to work out what codes that are sitting in your accounting software map back to your budget and all those sort of things. A lot of the cloud accounting, you can input a budget into the accounting software and it'll generate, again, using that word, real time. So if your budget on staff training for a month is $6,000 and you've put in 2 invoices for $2,000, you can, and it's the 20th of the month, you as a business owner can click on and have a look and go, okay, our budget's $6,000, we've spent $4,000, we really can't do any more training. Whereas if it was the old way and you got your set of financial statements a month later and you found out you just spent $8,000 on training because no one really knew where they're at and they just kept booking courses, and you've spent $2,000 more than your budget, it's really too late to do anything about that. So it also comes down to the setting up and working out which part of the road you want to head down, and we talk about this as a roadmap. It's really all laid out in front of you as to what you want to do. You've got to pick the relevant things that might provide the best bang for your buck in your particular business, and that is a time-consuming process. You can go on the websites of many of these add-ins, or you can Google whatever's available in the marketplace, and everyone's got a very nice website these days because they're quite cheap to make, and they always talk about what great results they're getting for their clients. But I suppose to be a little bit of a wet blanket is if you have an application that's supposed to be doing something with your cloud accounting software and it's not working for whatever reason, let's say the data isn't speaking to one another or connecting correctly, the cloud accounting software person will probably say, well, it's the problem with the app, and then the app person will say it's the problem with the cloud accounting software, and you're the poor old customer sitting in the middle who just wants to get it to work. So one piece of advice would be is I'd be right on your roadmap. I'd stick to the toll roads or the main roads. They might be a bit more expensive than some of the cheaper, faster B roads, and see what is needed for your business to solve your core issues or improve things in your business. Interestingly, all the things that Stephen's talked about today about getting rid of your Excel spreadsheet or getting rid of someone having to type up a roster or scribble on the whiteboard and redo it, what we're doing with all of the cloud accounting and all the apps is really replacing very expensive cost per hour labour. In other words, you need someone in your office doing these tasks with an app that automates it all. And so instead of having 3 people doing, saying, the admin function in your business, you might have one person sitting there looking at all these applications and seeing what information they generate and what decisions are required. So a good one is the debtor collection follow-up. Now, if you've got an app that's automatically sending out emails to your clients until they pay, the old 80-20 rule will probably kick in. 80% of the follow-up that previously to be some collections person getting on the phone and ringing, going down the debtor's ledger, ringing up all day, 80% of that could all be automated. You're still going to have the 20% of the difficult customers or the difficult tasks that require human intervention to go and talk to people or sort out a dispute or hear a complaint. A piece of software can't do that. But all of this eliminates a lot of the low-level, high labour cost tasks that are being still undertaken in businesses. And if you were using the old way of software on your desktop or whatever, you really got no choice but to still have labour cost in your business doing that. And the way the world's moving is everything's getting cheaper and faster. If you've still got high labour cost in your business performing your functions, your competitors are probably replacing that with some form of automation, which is reducing their costs. So they can either reduce the selling price of their goods, or they're making more money, which they can put aside if they have tough times, whereas if you're not in that position, you don't have that luxury. The last 2 points on the slide, just in conclusion about presentation today, because I know people have got places to go, is strategic planning. So looking at your data right now, where are we at? We want to put on another sales representative. They're going to cost this amount. What sales do they need to generate? How much of product X do they need to sell to pay for themselves? Or we're finding we're getting a lot of demand for this product in this location. We want to put someone else on to cover that territory. Rather than going, well, maybe we better go and prepare our accounts for the last couple of months, have a bit of a look. We've really got that information at our fingertips and we can decide what we're going to do. Similarly, on the last point, just from cash flow management, a lot of businesses, unless they're in the hospitality space, Christmas is a difficult time, Christmas and Easter, everyone's on holidays, you've got to pay all your annual leave out to staff. Every business, their accounts payable department is magically closed and not processing any payments, so there's no money coming in, but all your rent and your BAS and all those other costs still roll on. So it gives you, if you're doing your accounts at the end of November and trying to work out what December and January is going to look like, you can plug in a bit of data and work out, and maybe do a forecast to see what your position's going to be, and go and talk to your bank manager before there's problems, rather than running around if you do run into problems later on. If all you were doing was preparing your December BAS and you're going to take it into your bookkeeper in January or February and you don't really have any idea where you're going to sit for that period, given the bank's proclivity these days to not really lend you money unless you can demonstrate you don't really need it, it puts you in a far better position of being informed as to what your business is doing and how things are tracking. Similarly, for the advisors, accountants listening to the presentation, if your client wants to do something or they're looking at not being around, at least you've got an insight as to what their potential position is going to be and what they need to do or what action they need to take before things might become a problem. So thank you very much for your attendance today. As I said, we'll send out a copy of the presentation. Both Stephen and my direct lines and email addresses are on the back, so we'd be delighted to answer any specific questions or talk to people about their own needs for their businesses. So thank you very much for your attention.